Welcome back to another episode of the Epic Investor Podcast. My name is Jason Morris, and I'm here with Rich Jarvis, and we have just finished day 2 of Transition Day. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what transition looks like when you've bought a company and you are onboarding existing employees into the new entity, and what it looks like to begin developing those relationships, climbing through inventory to verify what you've just purchased is real and tangible, and talk about all of the emotions and the excitement and the sidebar meetings with management teams and individuals, and even the special moments of singing to sellers at their door before dinner. So with that, let's get started.
Let's do it. Tonight, we have just finished a full couple days with transition. Last time we spoke to you was on a Saturday night, late. We just finished not only acquiring the business, closing on Friday. We drove out early Saturday morning to meet with the leadership team for the first time. And we were preparing for what was going to happen yesterday and today. So today we're going to jump in on what it was like for transition. And so I think it's very appropriate to have Jason outline what exactly he was what were you looking forward to that morning, right when everyone was sitting out front and you were about ready to go on.
The honest truth is there are so many thoughts going through everyone's head, including ours. Just, are they going to like us? What are they thinking? Why are they already crying? They don't know what's happening. But I think ultimately for me, the thing I was most looking for was the opportunity for the sellers to have this moment that so many look forward to. 20 years in the making, for 20 plus years in the making for this certain acquisition. And they were about to tell their family of employees that they had sold the company. And I watched all of the faces of the employees, and then I watched the sellers, and it was such a sweet moment. And it really, those moments are very priceless, and they're moments they'll never forget on both sides. After that, I obviously went total business. Like, okay, who are my rising stars, and who are the ones that are emotionally resilient and are leaning into this, and who are the ones that need some extra reinforcement and some extra care. So
TLC. You know what was remarkable to me was how emotional the sellers were even before going up there. So Maylin, we walk in, she welcomes us in. It's early. I mean, you don't get customers. We have these boxes. She's like, what is going on? And I think you said we're
here for Leslie.
Here for Leslie. So Leslie comes out and starts bawling and gives us a hug. And Maylin just, what in the world is going on? And we were walking up. I hear Leslie tell her, "I'll tell you later. It's okay. It's okay." And I look back, and this poor lady's face is just like
in shock.
What is going on? And she's so worried. And when she was up there, you can see this huge worried look that something horrible was about to happen. So that's kind of the preface of right before this started. I thought was really remarkable was how the sellers handled it and how they spoke about the transition. They really just ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, she led with, "I'm just going to come out and say it. We've sold the company." And I'm like, that's one way to do it.
I'm messing around. And actually, there was a group in the back, and they're like, "Why are all these strangers here?" or something like that.
Yeah. It's a moment that's super unique. You can't simulate it. You can't really prepare for it. I just remember standing there smiling, doing my best to make everybody feel comfortable, and I probably looked ridiculous. It also helps us understand what we're inheriting. And I remember telling people it says a lot for us to watch so much emotion when they are announcing that they are going to be leaving the company. If you had all started celebrating, I would have been very worried. I would have wondered, what are we walking into? Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting situation that's unique.
One of the interesting things that I think really helped is it would have been a different experience if the sellers and us had an adversarial relationship. Can you imagine that? They're like, "Guys, we sold, good luck." you know. But instead, because of the relationship we had with the sellers, to me, that was one of the biggest boosts that we had there, because they described what they thought of us and the reason they chose us to take the company forward, and where we were going from here.
We are very, we're the beneficiaries of words like that from a seller to its employees and staff, because that provides a little bit more confidence and a little bit more encouragement as they look at two people who they don't know and their minds are spinning with, am I going to lose my job? Are they going to take my pay? Am I going to lose my benefits? The sellers know me. They understand my situation. I can come in 5 minutes late and not get hung out for it. And there's so many thoughts. And when a seller can provide that kind of kind words and confidence in the buyers, it makes the situation a little less tricky. It doesn't eliminate it, but it makes it less tricky to walk through. But we wanted to intentionally keep this to very short 20 minutes of transition.
We did actually pretty good.
I thought we nailed it.
Yeah.
We had the obviously the sellers speak first. They introduced us so we could walk up there and talk a little bit about who we are and what we do and why we're here, but really wanted to talk about them, why we chose their company out of all the businesses we looked at, how proud we were of the work that they had accomplished. And I think really the underlying message we wanted to provide everybody was we want to build upon the legacy that has been set here and do the right thing at every turn. And I think that calmed some nerves. It took 24 hours for a lot of people to let it settle in.
But keeping it short was so important, though.
Yeah.
So we could get out of there and
begin to establish some normalcy.
Some meeting with them.
Yeah.
We also had the leadership team.
Yep. Yeah. It was a good idea to have, and I think you and I kept our part to probably 5 minutes, maybe 6. And then we brought on the new executive team, which was one of the person we recruited who has industry experience and could come in and drive and execute on strategies. But we also elevated 2 key employees to be part of that executive team. And we presented the 3 of them in front of the staff, 2 people that they knew and loved and respected that had been there for 10 years, in addition to the new hire. And we allowed them to have the floor for probably the next 8 minutes, I think it was. And that was really powerful. I really enjoyed watching that. I really enjoyed how that transitioned. And then we immediately broke out, took some pictures for everybody.
Well, we had gifts. We brought, we ahead of time, we got everyone's name and sizes and embroidered some really nice
pullovers.
Yeah. Quarter zip, where as Jim would say, 2/5 zip.
Yeah. 2/5. Yeah. The next task after that was, we took some pictures because we'd like to present a gift to the sellers after we get some work done on it. But then the immediate task after that was 2 things. It was, let's go count some inventory and let's begin meeting each of the employees one-on-one. And Rich kind of spearheaded and took over on the inventory side. And I, with our new hire, met with each of the employees just to give them a chance to tell us how scared they were or how mad they were, but allow us an opportunity to talk about the vision and the hope and aspiration for what's to come.
Well, let's dive into that. Let's have you. What is a one-on-one interview like?
Well, if anybody's listening here and you walked or you're headed to your office to go to work, and at 8:15, after you punch in and grab your coffee and you sit down to read your emails there, I'll call you upstairs and say, hey, we've sold the company and these new people are going to interview you one-on-one. What would some of the thoughts and questions be in your mind? Well, you walk into an office, they close the door, they're sitting there smiling because they want you to like them. And you're thinking, yeah, right, buddy.
Oh, here, sign this.
Right. Sign this document. And what's that? And what changes did you make to it? There's obviously some administrative stuff. You have to have an employment agreement under an asset purchase that you've now changed entities and you've changed hands. So you got to get them to sign an employment agreement, which is always a little awkward. I don't know you. Why am I signing an agreement to work for you? So you got to dance through that piece. You got to You got to have them review the employee handbook again. And again, they don't know you, and those are typically 30 and 40 pages. So you've got to instill confidence and try to get their trust. But really, the most important thing is tell me about you. What do you like about this business? What do you like about living around this area? How long have you been here? And you really talk about them, and you find out what their aspirations are and what they want, and what they'd like to see happen within the company. And those conversations should never be taken for granted. We gleaned so much information about who they are, why they are there. We're trying to define the mission, purpose, and vision statements, and now collectively, we met 26 people over the course of the last 2 days, and we are filled with low-hanging fruit and new ideas and fresh perspective. And we gain their confidence and their trust when we invest in them by listening and by responding. So as hard as it is to sit and meet for hours on end for 2 days, I would never, ever, ever cut those short or take those away or find a different way to do it. You've got to get in front of them.
So many of them talked about how much they appreciated the time.
Go out on the floor.
Yeah.
Good.
And it was fun to meet with them too before they headed up.
Yeah, that was.
So on the inventory side, what's interesting is, answer this, how do you go through and verify hundreds of thousands of dollars of inventory when there's a bottle cap that's worth 0.01 cents?
And there's
100,000 of them. We only had so much time, right? So what's the highest and best use of your time in the inventory side? We sorted it by the highest value. So the absolute highest inventory item that was worth the most, we started there. And then we went down to what was, worth $100 at the end or something like that, or even less. So between all of that, it was probably 10 to 12 pages, front back, in an Excel spreadsheet that we had to go look. And if it was think of a line item, and it was more of like a SKU number or,
yep,
some type of identifier. And we were in the warehouse, and you're looking at it as value. You're not looking at it where it is in the warehouse, right? And so you're walking from one side to the other and back again, and it wasn't very efficient by any means. At least that was one of the problems that came up. Usually you'll have boxes, and the boxes will say count 10 or count 20 or even count 25,000 that's in that box. And we just had to verify that those boxes were there. And we did that and we split up the two teams. We took some of the leadership teams and split up so we could get through it faster. Once we got through the main inventory values, we had probably 6 pages left of things that were worth altogether $100, And so those, we decided to just do spot checks. So Richie would go out and he would just randomly choose one, and then they would have to prove that was there. So that's how we went through the inventory, and was able to get to verify that what we had was actually there. What surprised me was how much inventory was not on the inventory.
And why would a company not put inventory on its balance sheet? Why would you not call out or capture that value?
Well, for example, some of it is, tools that aren't really being used.
They're obsolete or outdated.
Yeah, or you have things like a Pelican case that's just not an inventory. You're not using it to sell anything. They use it as equipment or something before.
Or a 40 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah, 48 terabyte hard drive that was used for a photographer that they let go. It wasn't doing a good job. Anyway, stuff like that didn't make it on the balance sheet of what we were buying, but yet is there in inventory. The other stuff is the high volume materials that
you in bulk.
Yeah, you buy it in these massive barrels, and then you take grams out to make a product. And to track that all through becomes very difficult. So there's probably several 100,000 of inventory that wasn't inventory.
I can't wait to solve that problem.
Yeah, that's going to
Be a fun one.
but it was nice to learn that there was so much inventory on our side, on the buyer's side. But as a seller, I wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah. 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 Inventory can be tricky. Every business is different. And, you know, when you have your inventory in your warehouses or in your closets or garage, whatever it is, if you can have them organized and labeled, and just be as efficient as possible, and you want to perform an inventory at least twice a year, maybe it's quarterly, for tax purposes, you actually become much more aware of turn rates and you become much more familiar with your products. If you're knocking dust off at the top of a box, I mean, you probably ought to analyze how long it's been sitting there and if you really need to be spending money on it. But that inventory piece is a big one, just because you're inheriting the material that's going to be sold today. And obviously that keeps the whole cod going. But
But that was definitely fun. It was interesting how complex the storage was for me, but how fast all the employees knew exactly where it was.
sure.
I mean, it's just fun to see that after time you get to learn the system. And
It also helps you become familiar with the business that you've just acquired. And, you know, now you're touching almost every single SKU or every single product that you're selling. And having gone through that yourself, you probably know more of the products than I do at this point, because
there's some pretty cool ones.
yeah, yeah,
One of the coolest things about jumping in and not knowing the process is being able to observe and learn.
you know, in these types of takeovers or acquisition opportunities, I love embracing being naive. I love embracing the ignorance and walking up and saying, I'm probably going to ask you some odd questions and they're probably really silly to you, but I was just born here today and I just would love to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I've learned, actually, Rich, like when I call customer service for a problem I'm having, I use the same line. I don't know what I'm doing. This is the first time I've touched your product. Can you just start at ground zero and talk to me like a fifth grader? And you learn pretty quickly what it's all about. But I love observing and watching and seeing how people interact with each other. You kind of can watch who's the leader, who people look up to, who people lean on when they want something done, the way they talk to each other. Observation is powerful.
You know, it absolutely is. And it's interesting. I think it does more than just that one thing. I think it does a couple things. You get the benefit of learning. The other thing it does is it helps the person you're talking to get more comfortable around you, because they're in a position of power, in a sense, right? They know more than you. And even though you're the owner, you're coming to them in that light. I think it opens the door and breaks barriers down much quicker than coming in and telling someone that they're doing something wrong right out of the gate.
Absolutely. I love those moments where you are way more in a humble position of humility than they are. And it actually, it galvanizes that relationship a lot faster. But there's a lot of people that'll buy a company and kind of just sit upstairs in that office. I've got to read all these reports and get my head around all these numbers and look at all these emails that I haven't read yet. And meanwhile, everybody's downstairs thinking, who is this person? And why do they not care enough to be down here looking at what we're doing?
What really matters.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That made me think, Rich, as you're talking to people and you're observing, and sometimes they'll ask you, like, well, what do you think? And what do you think we ought to do in this situation? And I remember talking to one of their managers, that he had a breakthrough moment on something that we had talked about. And there were no jokes. There were no bones about it. There was no pulling the wool over people's eyes. We told them, we are here to learn about what you do and how you do it. And for him to turn around and just ask, well, you know, we want to know more about how to do this, and how does your experience provide any information on how to do this? And we started talking about something as simple as KPIs and the ability to track and the ability to measure and find ways to improve in small areas. And he had a breakthrough moment. And I am so glad that it was him, because he's one of our executive team members, and he is now going to take that excitement. The exact phrase he used with us tonight was, "You've awoken something within me that I thought was dead."
Isn't that amazing?
I was like, "Oh boy, this guy is going to be a bull in a china shop." And I'm excited to watch what happens. And he's going to take that excitement energy with all of the people that report to him who respect him, and they're going to drive results in a real way by something as simple as, how can we measure? I asked the question, what was our revenue today? How many packages did we ship out? And he's like, well, how can we measure that? And how can we do that? And I'm thinking, oh, this is great. And so these breakthrough moments that happen are, to us, they feel insignificant. Like, I didn't provide any value today. And then you hear something like that and you think,
It's pretty awesome.
this is going to be a great experience.
Well, and then when you empower them to do something like that, what was fascinating to me was watching him change from, being really apprehensive about the whole thing to becoming truly excited. And in fact, he even made the comment, there are so many things I've wanted to change, I can actually make that change now.
Yeah.
Which bears the question, there's that saying, why do families wait till there's a funeral to get together? Right?
That's a powerful statement.
Why do companies wait until they're sold before true change can happen?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, we like comfort. We don't like to be challenged as human beings. We want to find the lane, we want to find the groove, and we want to stay in it. And not, we don't want turbulence, and we don't want surprises. Another reason is some people are just tired. There's nothing wrong with a seller who has lived this lifestyle through business, and they run a certain way, and they're easy, and they're happy where it's at, and they actually will put those ceilings on the business because they don't want the extra headache. And the other side of it is just they simply don't know how. They don't know what to do, and it kind of restrains everybody. But again, to what you said earlier, when you empower people, you find good partnerships, and you go deep into those pipelines. You go deep into what they're good at. Well, this goes to the concept of right seats on the bus. You want the right person in the right seat. And when
they want it, have the capacity to do it.
When you've got the right person in the right seat who gets it, wants it, and has capacity to do it, can you even imagine what is possible in that lane?
And then put them all on the same page where they're all working for the same outcome.
Great point. We introduced EOS. We introduced the EOS model to the executive team. We introduced them to the integrator tonight.
Implementer.
Sorry, thank you. The implementer. And the implementer will be coming out here next week to meet with the executive team and kick that off. And when you capture their get it, want it, and capacity drive with their talent and their legacy knowledge of the business, and you put that into a system like EOS,
It's amazing.
I want to be a part of it. I want to be in it.
Yeah. That has been a hard part. Even today, the implementer was meeting with them, and I'm like, okay, I'm going on in. And Stephanie goes, no, it's just me. And I'm like, what?
Not allowed. We went in anyway.
I know. We did for a little bit.
Sorry, not sorry, Max.
You spent all day doing interviews. Once we got the inventory done, I just started going around meeting people, just getting to know them and how long they've been there and what they liked, and just tried to get to kind of put their fears aside, and even asked quite a few people, so tell me, how you doing? What's on your mind? At first, they were like, I'm good. didn't really want to talk.
I don't know you.
Yeah, you're in my space. But then it turned into, I remember one employee goes, wow, thank you for just taking the time to talk to me. And, on that first day, just stopped it and just learned more about him and what he was doing. And it turned out that he had been part of 2 other acquisitions. He'd worked at other companies that were acquired. And he's like,
That went well.
yeah, that went well. He's like, I've been trying to tell everybody it's not a big deal. Nothing changes. And he's like, you're not going to come in and do my job, are you? Nope. And then another employee who told me about her story fighting cancer and how the original owners spent so much time supporting her through those hard times. Another one who was a landscaper,
Yep.
and it just painted the picture of how important it was for the management team and the owners to reach out in the community and see people and reach out to them as people to help them. And it made a huge difference. This gentleman who was a landscaper, young kid, was running his own business, but wanted to do something more, and was given the opportunity, and he just jumped full send, jumped in
At entry level. He came in
Yeah.
putting bottle caps on bottles, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And now he's in production.
Oh yeah, he's mixing, he's doing all, and he's loving it.
Hey, took a shot. We should talk about the evening.
Oh
We're
yeah,
all done.
absolutely.
Talking about these relationships and how important they are. And
It did start off with some tunes.
okay, that's noteworthy. Good point, Rich.
Yeah.
So we made it a point to. So it's December 23rd. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. We are leaving tomorrow to go home to our families. And in the spirit of Christmas, we wanted to carol. And
Well, in my family, my wife was here with me. We celebrated our 29th anniversary on Saturday, and for 29 years, we have caroled every Christmas. And for this season, we were away from home.
so you hadn't caroled yet until we got here. That's right. That's right. She said we'll do it in Oregon.
Yep. And so that was really important for her. And so it was my wife, and then my daughter, my son, my daughter's husband, and her son, my grandson, and then Jason.
So the challenge that we're extending in this podcast is take your families and go caroling, because we were surprised. We went to 2 homes. We went to the home of the broker who had us over for dinner Sunday night. And then Monday night, we were at the seller's home having dinner with the management team and their spouses. And we caroled at both houses. And both places had said, I've never been caroled to before.
In their life.
And they're both, let's just say they're over 50. And
Hey,
I forget that.
they may be over 60 too.
Okay, great point. They're in their 60s and they've never been caroled to. So that was fun. It broke the ice. It kind of everybody laughed and had fun with it. And the voices were great, by the way, Rich. The Jarvis family nailed it.
They did. Yeah, I'm just the water boy.
But I loved. We had talked months ago about what to do that night, and we talked about going to a restaurant or finding a quiet place to reserve a corner. And the seller finally said, "Why don't you just come over to our home?" Which they don't typically have people in general at their house. And that night they had, was it 22 of us?
Yeah, something like that.
A big long table. They made their own famous lasagna.
They prepared drinks, mocktails,
Mocktails.
drinks for everyone there. It was by hand. It was
Wonderful spread.
It was awesome.
But it gave us the opportunity to talk not only to the upper managers, who we have now met 2 days in a row now. We got to talk to their spouses, to their significant others. And that was really neat. It was real, because I remember asking your wife, I think it was on Sunday, if your husband came home and said, our company just got bought, what's your first concern? And she goes, is he going to have a job? And so talking to those spouses of these upper managers that are about to take their careers to another level, the intention was to give them the same type of exposure that now all of the employees at work had had. And so that I loved that. That was such a good idea.
That's awesome.
And what a privilege to be in their home that night, in a really private, intimate setting. If you have the opportunity when you buy a business to do that, I would just encourage you to find the most intimate setting you can,
Absolutely.
and embrace that and lean into it. And we had great laughs. We had great drinks and great food. It was wonderful, wonderful 2 hour event.
You know, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's typical that people have, buyers and sellers have the relationship that we've built on this one transaction.
It was so special.
And so that makes it even more special. But to strive for something like that again, I would love if every one of our acquisitions was like that.
Set the standard.
Yeah.
Bar's been set.
Pretty high.
Yeah, very. But I think that helped with our, that was Monday night. And I think that, really transitioned into day 2, where now nerves are a little bit more calm and everybody's had 24 hours to process, the announcement, and being able to go to the home and then have dinner with everybody. We came in the next day today, and the managers had already, rallied the troops, and they had already run around to make sure everybody's okay and doing well. And we met with the rest of the staff today, and then we powwowed with the management team again and went through a long list. You can imagine your head's reeling and spinning on day 1. They had a lot more questions this afternoon, now that they've had a chance to kind of sit and have some quiet time to put some thoughts down.
Well, everything from how's HR going to work to what about these product lines? Am I still going to be doing them? Or I have an order I'm making. Should I still make that order, or do I need to cancel it? I mean, things like that.
And what was the common phrase? Business as usual. You don't want to go into a new acquisition and change what's been working. Obviously, if there's immediate things, glaring, massive liability issues, you fix them. But you don't want to go in. I mean, we're in chemistry, right? Half of our business is R&D, and when you're testing something, you don't change 5 variables. You change one variable and retest, and then you change one more variable and you retest. Because if you go through and change a bunch of stuff, you don't know what worked or what caused more chaos. So you've got to maintain business as usual, so you can continue to observe, so that you can go through the whole motion, the whole project, the whole day to day, and make little adjustments along the way that make sense, instead of just, shaking the tree and seeing what falls. That's not smart.
Yeah, it isn't. A couple of my takeaways from this experience has been, one, people want to know what you're going to do. They want to know
What was the question they asked you today?
So what is your vision? What they're really asking is, what are you going to change?
Yeah. What are you going to do here?
Yeah. And what's interesting is when you can candidly share that you have their best interest in mind, the company's best interest, because the company does well, you do well, your investors do well, but it all centers around the people. You can have products and services and all of that, but none of that is sustainable without the people.
100%.
But turning it around is, it was interesting. One of the, it wasn't a high level manager, but it was still a manager. Remember, she asked me what the vision was, and she even made the comment, this is what we do. And I said, well, okay, that's what you do. Or, well, you manufacture this type of something, in this case, hypoallergenic adhesives. And then I said, well, so there's applications in the medical field, there's applications in all of these different industries. And her eyes started getting really big, and she's like, we're going to need a bigger building. But it was really fun to see just the transition that, it'd be similar to saying, is McDonald's, are they in the hamburger business, or are they in the real estate business? Right.
Hands down. So we were having our upper management meeting tonight. And do you remember what example I used with the adhesive, where they put the adhesive on the toilet paper roll? That came to me just like that, and I had to spit it out before I lost it. But I asked our team, if we are an adhesive manufacturer and a hypoallergenic adhesive manufacturer, I wonder what adhesive they're using at toilet paper manufacturers when they have to put a little bit of an adhesive on the toilet paper roll before they start winding the toilet paper. And the chemist, she said, yeah, it would need to be hypoallergenic because it contacts the skin. And I'm like, who's selling them theirs? And the operations manager goes, holy cow. Like this, it expands. You're not just in one segment.
Well, you were even talking about the 50-gallon drums, sending the adhesives, the entire drum to other manufacturers. He's like, you can do that.
Ship it.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We didn't really say, can you do that? It was like, wow, we hadn't even thought about you could do that. Yeah.
We could do that. Yeah, it was so much fun. I love these days. They're hard, they're long, they're stressful. You don't know what's going to come at you, and you got to be prepared to we had 9 months of preparation on this one, but you've got to be prepared with your vision. You got to be prepared with answers. You've also got to be prepared to tell people, I don't know the answer to that yet. You can't steer them wrong. You can't set unrealistic expectations. You don't want to show doubt, but you don't want to lead them astray. And so you've got to be strong enough to be able to tell people you don't know something. But I love these moments. They're fun. We made 40 new friends this weekend.
It was amazing.
And I am excited about how we will become more incorporated with them on a professional and personal level.
For me, the last takeaway was how cool to have this management team and the caliber of people that are taking care of the investors' investments. I mean, to have that team that we were able to acquire, I was already very confident in what we were buying to begin with. But after sitting down and meeting with the people and learning about what they're wanting to do and the changes and the management team, what they're going to do, I have so much more confidence than I ever did before about what we're going to be able to do in a huge way. This is going to be amazing. I mean, we're not just going to deliver a target. We're going to far outperform.
We're going to blow past it.
Yeah.
There's so much potential here. I'm thrilled. I'm pumped. I'm excited.
Well, and to be authentic, we're exhausted. We're getting up at 4 in the morning, take Jason to the airport.
Got to go home for Christmas.
We're all going on, a few hours of sleep collectively over several days, and but it has been all worth it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I loved it. Like tonight, we stayed late with the managers, and he was even saying like, "Yeah, I'm well past my time, but I love being here. I love talking to you guys. This is exciting," and I embrace those moments.
Yeah, I was expecting him to leave. He goes, "I leave at this time." It was like an hour and a half after that.
Oh, he told me tonight earlier, if we need to stay till 8, I'll take it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and because we were leaving, they wanted to spend more time.
Capture the time.
I love that.
Yep.
Well, why don't we wrap it up?
I think that at the end of the day, if you are looking at buying a business, do it. if your company is being acquired, lean into it. Don't be afraid of it. If you are considering alternative investment opportunities, investing in business acquisition is an exciting venture to be a part of, because you can put a few dollars in several companies, and you can be part of something special, and you get to hear about the excitement and how they're changing and how they're growing and scaling. But really, it all comes down to the kind of people that we're investing in, and the experience of acquiring this business. And it's very, very layered. To sum this up in 2 podcasts is very. I imagine we will have more podcasts in the future just about individual moments through the last year that it took to get here. But the last 2 days has been something special. And I think to sum it all up, it really comes down to 2 things. It comes down to learning about the people that you now serve as a leader, and maintaining a legacy that has existed for 20 plus years, and how we're going to enhance that. And I couldn't think of a better way to honor those folks that sold this business than to take their business beyond the moon.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then by doing that, you're protecting the investors and you're delivering incredible returns.
The impact at that level is 100% impact for everybody. So we hope you've enjoyed this podcast. It the last, obviously was at the hip, but it's authentic and real and genuine. We're running on the fumes that are left in the gas tank. But if you would like or subscribe, share this with everyone. If you've been through a transaction recently and you've experienced the transition of changing of the guard, I know we would love to hear about that. And
Yes.
And commiserate and share in exciting stories and hear about some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But with that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.